All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack Network. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. Today we're going to be talking some New England Patriots football for the upcoming season, and with me to help do that is Ethan Hurwitz of Sports Illustrated. What's going on, man?
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. If you guys have not caught any of these yet, what we do is we ask our guests 4 or 5 questions about the team, what he's seen during camp so far, and to help us with our fantasy teams heading into this season. Before we jump into that, though, just want to remind everybody, hit that subscribe button, that like button, leave those comments. We appreciate it. And of course, jump over to Fantasy Six Pack, become an all access member. You're going to get access to our award-winning rankings, our draft cheat sheets, our player projections. During the season, we've got DFS and betting content in our Discord as well. And then we do other sports as well. So go over there, F6P Pods, to save 15%. All right, man. Let's jump right into things here. And of course, always big name around the New England Patriots, Josh McDaniels coming back and working now with Drake Maye at quarterback, and a second-year guy. And we saw some good things from Drake Maye last season. We saw some bad things from Drake Maye last season. Typical rookie stuff. What kind of offense can we expect to be on the field with Josh McDaniels working with Drake Maye? Is it more of like the Tom Brady type offense, kind of the Cam Newton offense, a little bit of a blend? What do we got?
I'd say it's sort of just as right down the middle as you can get. There's been a lot of emphasis on trying to get Drake to use his legs more. That's something that he excelled at when he stayed healthy in his rookie season. I wouldn't go as far to say that it's a Cam Newton style offense where, that is going to be the focal point of your offense. Because that season with Cam Newton there was a ridiculous season to watch in terms of a running quarterback and something that the Patriots hadn't had since the 70s. But I also wouldn't say that it's a pure pocket passer, Tom Brady-esque style offense. I think there's room to grow in both the pocket passing ability as well as the running ability for Drake. So as right down the middle as you can get, I think they're trying to be a little cautious with the amount of times that they're going to have him run the ball, just considering about the amount of concussions and sort of hard hits he took last year. So I wouldn't say that it's a pure just bootleg, just keep running over and over again, but I would expect him to get 600, 700 rushing yards this season, give or take around that area.
That would be fantastic. And yeah, a little bit of an underrated part of his game for sure is the rushing ability. People just don't really think about it, but he was definitely a mobile guy in college. I got to see him firsthand. He playing against my Hokies a couple times, so good stuff over there. So I'm going to switch things up a little bit on you. Stay with this passing offense. And, of course, they bring in Stefon Diggs, big veteran presence there, but he's not going to start the season. I mean, most likely not going to start the season. I guess it's still kind of up in the air, but he is at least on the field practicing a little bit right now from what I understand. What's the chemistry look like between him and Maye?
The chemistry looks good, and I'd say that the Patriots for the last few years have struggled to really develop receivers. So when Diggs came in here, who knows if he's 100% or not, but he just looks a rep and a half faster than almost everyone else in that room. It's just the ability that he has. He's from the warm-up lines to just the individual drills to breaking out of his routes is just faster than almost everyone on the field. So I think that helps Drake because it's the best receiver that he's played with in his short career. And so as obviously the chemistry issues, the chemistry that they might have now is ideally not what they're going to have in November and December. But I think that for where we are now and Diggs coming off of an ACL injury, chemistry looked good. And Drake is before the in-stadium practice that they had last week, had not turned the ball over once. So he's been pretty cautious with the ball, and he's been sort of peppering Diggs a lot in the middle of the field. It's immediately become his go-to receiver. So everyone knew that Diggs would be the number one receiver, but I think once you watch the team practice, it's pretty evident that Diggs is reliant on Maye and vice versa. And it's just something that will inevitably grow once Diggs gets closer to 100% and Maye can fully trust the new receiver. I'd say that it's not 100% now, as nothing in this league is 100% now as we're turning the calendar to August, but it's definitely something that that will be Drake's guy. That will be the number one target all season. And I think you can sort of see the chemistry starting to build as they sort of install a lot of this offense.
That's awesome. I didn't put this on the sheet to send to you, but what are you hearing about when we can expect him in the games?
As of right now, I think the best case scenario is week one. He's been out there. He hasn't missed any practices. It's they took it a little slow with him in OTAs and sort of once he signed and sort of in that ramp up process. But he wasn't placed on the PUP list. He wasn't placed on any reserve list to start. So he's been fully active. Who knows if behind the scenes they're working on some rehab with him. I haven't seen any of that on the field. But it's been something where I would be surprised if he does not play week one. I'd say all indications right now are sort of leading towards he's looking ready to, if not 100%, very, very close to 100% by week one.
That's interesting because he's fantasy drafts for sure. He's been dropping because people don't really know when he's going to play, and so if that's the case, like that's a steal. Like maybe we should start pushing him up the board. Something to really monitor here. Staying in this pass catching area here, as you mentioned, Patriots have had struggled to develop any receivers the last few years, and we saw that last year where Hunter Henry led the team in everything passing, receiving at least. I mean, do we think that continues? Is he going to be the number 2 behind Diggs, or are we seeing somebody else kind of come in and be able to be the number 2?
The thing that I always say, and it's just one of those sports cliches that I always lean on, is a tight end is a rookie quarterback's best friend. And I think that in Drake's rookie season, he relied a lot on Henry and then Austin Hooper down in the later end of the season. So I'd say that the chemistry that you would hope Maye and Diggs have by the end of the season, I think that's already been established with Henry and Maye, and consistently since signing here in 21, Henry has been the most reliable pass catcher they've had consistently. And so I would say that he's probably the valuable number 2. I think the offense that Josh McDaniels likes to run favors a lot of the tight ends. And that sort of just will open up the field for some of the receivers downfield. I would say that having Henry as the number 2 would be a safe assumption. Obviously, it's never sexy when the tight end is the number 2, unless you're getting a Gronk or Travis Kelce or sort of that caliber of tight end. But I just think that the Hunter Henry consistently has been a solid player, especially in the red zone. So that's really like a good. If you're looking for touchdowns at the tight end position, value-wise, I'd say that is probably who you're looking for. Is someone that can make the most of the volume he's getting. It might be a step back considering all the weapons they added, but I'd say that Henry's probably the number 2 at this point in terms of chemistry with Maye.
All right, fair enough. Switch over here to the running back room. And Rhamondre Stevenson got the contract and then struggled really bad last season. And so they go out and they draft TreyVeon Henderson in the second round. Not a big shock, honestly, that they went out and got a running back with how bad Stevenson was last year. But is this looking like it's like mostly going to be Henderson's backfield, or are we looking at more of a 50-50 split here?
I would say as of now, it's probably Stevenson's backfield in terms of the running game. I think that what Henderson has brought to the team so far is that they'll split him out and they're having him run routes basically as a receiver. And as we're recording this today, who knows when it'll come out, but on this Monday, they had a very big red zone period. He caught 3 or 4 passes on a wheel route, 25 yards down the field for touchdowns, cleanly beating multiple of the Patriots starting linebackers in coverage. And so I think Henderson adds sort of an explosiveness that Josh McDaniels is liking to use in the passing game. So I think to start the season, it would probably be Stevenson's backfield, and a lot of the sort of the Henderson plays would probably come in more of the passing downs. The last few seasons, the Patriots running backs have been relied on being those passing backs as well. from guys that you wouldn't even really expect. Rhamondre Stevenson, Ezekiel Elliott were sort of those big guys to get the volume of the passes out of the backfield. Whereas typically you used to have the Dion Lewises, the James Whites, the Kevin Falks that would specifically excel in those areas. I think Henderson is probably going to be your receiving back to start the season. And so I think, and I'd say it's early now to tell in terms of how Stevenson's doing ball handling wise. He did have a fumble on Friday. But I'd say that for the most part, it's probably going to be Stevenson's backfield to start. And we'll see how that goes once Henderson can sort of get added into the offense in a myriad of ways. And one thing I will add is when Stevenson was a rookie in 2022, that was off of Damian Harris's best season. And by the end of the season, Stevenson had completely taken over. And Josh McDaniels in that offense sort of, with injuries, forced Stevenson to be in there, and he hadn't looked back since. So who knows if that's one of those things where if Stevenson doesn't live up to the contract that he signed a few years ago, Henderson can just take his spot and run with it. But I'd say as of right now, it's probably 50-50, maybe 60-40, depending on how you want to look at it in terms of the running game or passing game. But by week 12, 13, that might be completely different.
Yeah, that's interesting because, Stevenson was known for a while as a pass catching back. 88 targets in his second season, caught 69 for over 400 yards. Like that's nothing to sneeze at, man. And then it just started slowly dropping off along with everything else that he was able to contribute on the field. Efficiency was down all over the place. And of course, that probably has a lot to do with the offensive line not being as good either. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. I don't totally disagree with you. I've been kind of leaning that we've seen it a lot with these rookie running backs, especially high profile guys. They don't always just take over right away. It's if there's an established veteran there like a Stevenson, those guys usually can just take on the early down work or the early season work a lot until the rookie really starts getting acclimated. The best example I have of this is Jonathan Taylor from the Colts. I remember his rookie season, it was week 10, all of a sudden it was oh, there's Jonathan Taylor, and he was awesome the rest of the season. But the beginning part, it was dropped in leagues. It was nuts because he just wasn't getting used. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point with Henderson. Hopefully they can keep him more involved, and we don't have to worry about is he going to drop every week. So, all right, we like to close things out with all of these with just asking who's a guy in camp that you've noticed that maybe under the radar type of guy that fantasy managers should keep an eye on, should just kind of keep in their back pocket.
I think there's two receivers that have really stood out in terms of the fantasy value that you could probably get at where their ADP is, and that would be Demario Douglas and Kyle Williams. I think those behind Diggs have been sort of the consistent guys along with Kayshon Boutte, but I think he's a lot of more of a boomer bust guy in terms of fantasy aspect, where he could probably get you 110 and a touchdown, and then some days get you 3 catches. So I'd say he's more of the high risk, high reward type of guy. I'd say the more consistent guys that you could probably lean on right now are Demario Douglas and Kyle Williams. Douglas has been sort of that prototypical Josh McDaniels slot receiver, getting open sort of in that mesh area in between the numbers. Has probably been the best receiver in camp so far in terms of the Patriots offense. And then Kyle Williams has been quickly adjusting to be one of those down the field Brandon Cooks-esque type receivers for the Patriots. He's been getting open. Hands are fantastic. He had a ridiculous 40-yard touchdown a few weeks ago. So I think those are some guys that, they're probably not going to light the scoreboard up in terms of this offense and get you 20 points a game or 12 touchdowns. But I think that they're probably good safety valves for May, especially in an offense where he's probably going to be asked to throw the ball a lot more. Douglas is in year 3. Williams is a rookie. So I'd say that the expectations for them probably aren't as high as the team has in terms of the fantasy managers and sort of how that would look. I'd say those are 2 guys though that you could probably pay attention to and snag in the later rounds.
Yeah, definitely not shocked to hear those names. Kyle Williams has been kind of a popular name among, especially Dynasty, in the midsummer, right after the draft. Kyle Williams is kind of a trendy, middle round pick there for dynasty managers. So love to hear the fact that he's doing well. All right, man. I want to thank you for coming on. This was great information. Before we close out, just give you a minute to kind of plug yourself and where we can find you and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm Ethan. And if you haven't gotten that by now, and so I cover the Pats for Sports Illustrated on SI. So anything Patriots related, that will be sort of where I'm at. On Instagram, it's Gillette Nation, 2 L's, 2 T's. A lot of that's just more of the in-depth Patriots stuff as well. Some minor news there. And then my Twitter, Hurwitz Sports. You can probably see it on the screen right now, but that's me. I'm a 22-year-old who's always on my phone, so shoot me a follow, and love to talk Pats.
Awesome. Thanks again, man. And yeah, if you're still here listening, make sure you hit that subscribe button, the like button, and follow Ethan over here. This was great stuff. All right. See you next time.